Hello and welcome back, Cage Kiplinger, Logan Hubert. This is the KNL Sports Huddle episode number 52. We're recording this on Monday, March 2nd, and we're here. It's March. It is college basketball's month, so that means we're checking in on the latest bracketology that we've got, and the program's on the bubble, and we'll see who's in, who's out at this point in the season. We've got a few games left before conference tournaments as we get closer and closer to Selection Sunday. And we're going to tease a little something here on Selection Sunday. Tune in on YouTube because we're going to do our first live stream. Thought this would be the best opportunity for us. It's a 1 hour. They get through the Selection Sunday through the teams pretty quickly. So we won't take too much of your time, but definitely tune in then as you'll get our live reactions to the bracket as it's revealed to us. Today we're also discussing a little bit of NBA talk as we dig in on some of the Celtics as we potential return of Jayson Tatum could be a chemistry disruptor as we close out the season as the Celtics look to make a playoff push. And then we've got another MLB all-time rosters reveal. We're going with the NL East as we head into the National League. Before we do that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Every bit helps. If you prefer listening on Spotify, the link to our page is on our YouTube channel description, and you can also get us on Instagram at HuddleKL Sports for breaking news and clips from our episodes. Logan, nice to see you again today. How are we doing?
Doing well. And let's just get right into our weekly Whiplash, starting in the golf world. The Cognizant Classic, kind of a lower tier PGA event especially after the West Coast swing, but it still had its drama this week because Nico Echevarria, is that how you say his last name? I've always Echevarria.
I think it's Edge. I think it's Edge.
Echevarria, he won it after Shane Lowry just completely collapsed. So we're in the season of March. I'll put this in basketball terms, what Shane Lowry did. It was like if in a big game, he scored 30 points, and then in the last minute, his team gave up the lead, and he missed 4 straight free throws and turned the ball over twice, and the other team came back and won. I mean, that's basically what it was because Lowry had I forget how big of a lead he had. He had a few shots ahead going into the day. He hit a 6 up. He was 6 under until hole 16, and then he had back-to-back double bogeys.
Bear trap. The bear trap got him.
Bear trap got him on hole 18. So yeah, just kind of a devastating loss and kind of improbable loss too, especially considering Lowry's a veteran who's seen success before, and Echevarria has he won before? I feel like he's. Or is that?
I feel like I've seen his name, but I'm not totally sure.
Yeah. But, I mean, nowhere near the prestige as Lowry, so shows you golf's a crazy sport.
Great start to the Florida swing.
Yes, absolutely. Headline number 2, the NFL Combine has begun, and I've always thought that's kind of a snooze fest, and like even Aaron Glenn, apparently the Jets coach, agrees with me because there was footage of him sleeping in the press box, which honestly, I don't even blame him because they do all their work off camera anyways. Like, and the combine's just so boring to watch. I think he's getting too much criticism for that. But anyways, there's always some weird thing that comes out of that. And this year we had a Ruben Bain. He has the 3rd shortest measured arm length for any edge rusher since at least 1999. So you look at all of the great edge rushers in the NFL right now, and a common trait amongst all of them is that they have those big bare paws and big long arms that allow you to get through. And I don't know if short arms is a great trait for a guy to have whose goal is to get around big offensive tackles and get to the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd be too worried about him, but I mean, yeah, and it's, there's been some memes showing like Will Campbell and him lining up against each other, and it's like 2 T-Rexes headbutting each other because of their short arms. But I think he'll be fine.
Also, this was today, NFL news. David Montgomery is being traded from the Detroit Lions to the Houston Texans for a fourth-round pick, seventh-round pick, and offensive lineman Drew Scruggs. So I kind of just forgot that, NFL trades can still happen can happen at this time now. I mean, they're not declared official until the new league year begins, but you're allowed to tamper, basically allowed to agree on trades, but they just can't officially announce them. But it's interesting for the Texans. I guess this means the end of the Joe Mixon era. He did not play last year, so he'll likely be gone. They still have Woody Marks, so I would assume David Montgomery is going to want to be the running back one. That's probably why he would get out of Detroit, because he was serving second fiddle to Jahmyr Gibbs. But Woody Marks is a good running back two to have, so that could be a good 1-2 combo for the Texans. Once again, the question's just going to come down to, can CJ Stroud exercise his demons and return to rookie CJ Stroud? Because I like a healthy Texans roster. I like.
Yeah, it seems to trend downward for CJ Stroud these past couple of years. And no more what is it, Sonic and Knuckles for the Detroit Lions with Gibbs and Montgomery, so won't get to see that anymore in Detroit. We'll
I
see
would
if that
assume
affects them in
fantasy
any way.
owners. I would assume fantasy owners are rejoicing because
Right.
there won't be any more of that now.
They can let
Now you
Gibbs
just
be set free.
and Montgomery, who probably could be a decent running back too to start, like in fantasy leagues. Now he's on his own team, so yeah. Now you just kind of wish Seattle would do the same thing with Charbonnet and Walker. But, who knows? Okay, and finally, in World Baseball Classic that gets underway this week, the USA will play Brazil Friday in Houston in their first group stage game. And then on Saturday, it's a rematch of the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812 against Great Britain on Saturday, and a rematch of the Mexican-American War on Monday against Mexico. So, I mean, baseball is near. MLB season's near. We've been doing our segment on their all-time teams, but the baseball classic is always also an indicator that, hey, we're here.
Yeah. Love WBC years, because it's like you get this like nice little preview to baseball, the regular season, just in this month.
It's not 100% serious, but it is a little
Right.
bit. So
I
yeah.
think it is for us this year, especially because we lost to Japan the last World Baseball Classic. So what I think's so funny is that the one game that Tarek Skubal is going to pitch in is against Great Britain, who doesn't have a chance against
I didn't even
the
know
Americans in
Britain.
this.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, right. He's going to
I
pitch.
knew. I assumed Brazil and Mexico did. I was kind of surprised that Great Britain was even in this thing.
Right. Well, that gets underway. So let's get on to our first big segment here. It's going to be the Campus Corner. Thought we would lead with college basketball because, like I said, it's March, it's mayhem, it's madness. I mean, college basketball, they've trademarked this month. So as we look at the latest bracketology, unfortunately, Joe Lenardi hasn't updated his ESPN one, so I'm looking off of CBS. So
I don't know if he's very credible anymore. I think this has been one of his worst
yeah,
renditions of bracketology I've seen. Yeah.
I would follow CBS anyway. They're the ones that do all the college basketball stuff regardless. But there was a big game that happened on Saturday, I believe, that really helped my guys, my Ohio State Buckeyes, get
I think it was
one
Sunday.
step
I think it
closer.
was Sunday.
Oh, it
Yeah, I
was
think it was
Sunday.
Sunday.
That's right. It
Yeah.
was just yesterday.
Much needed win for the Buckeyes. We're coming off two straight losses. One loss was excusable. It was at Michigan State, and they played well. The Iowa loss, not so much. I mean, you weren't really favored, but you got to put up more of a fight than that. Badly needed win, and they got it. Purdue is the perfect team for teams that desperately need a quad one win. Purdue loves giving teams chances at that.
Especially when it's Ohio State, because we're 3-0. Jake Diebler's 3-0 against the Purdue Boilermakers, so he has their number.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I fully expect Purdue to just destroy Northwestern on Wednesday, because Unlike UCLA a few weeks ago or Indiana a few weeks ago, when they're saying, "Oh, these teams just need one quad one win." Oh, Purdue. Oh, here we go. Western's won 2 in a row, and they're not vying for a tournament spot. Yeah, I see Purdue rolling that, but Ohio State's got 2 big ones to lock it up, and 2 very winnable games at Penn State, and they should win that one because Penn State just beat Iowa, so they'll be too busy celebrating after that. So you don't usually see bad teams have consecutive successes. So Ohio State should win that, and then home against Indiana to close out the season. That'll be a big one. The bubble's so bad right now that IU still has a chance to get in, even if they don't win the conference tourney. It really speaks more of how bad the bubble is this year. So that game could still have big implications for both teams. But I was kind of hoping IU would have beat Michigan State because that would have just set up perfectly.
That would have set up
like the ultimate bubble game. Both teams coming off big wins on Sunday, an easy game Wednesday, and then meeting each other on Saturday.
Yeah, the Buckeyes got 20 from Thornton, 21 from Mobley. Those are our top 2 guys, the 2 guards, putting up most of the points. And it's just one of those things. I really hope that Bruce Thornton finally gets to see an NCAA tournament in March. He's closing in on the all-time scoring list, passing Dennis Hobson on the Ohio State all-time points list. So just an all-timer for Ohio State basketball, and for him to just go all 4 years and not see a tournament would be very unfortunate for him and us.
Yeah, and you just look at his stats this year, where he ranks amongst the Big Ten. He's up there. He's probably having his best year, in my opinion. He's always been a dog. This year, I hope he gets it through. They've kind of replaced USC because first I thought USC would kind of be like that last Big Ten team in, but they've fallen off, and now I think it's Ohio State's going to be that 11 or 10 seed Big Ten team that gets in. That's going to be like, I don't know if you want to face them.
Right, and that game against Purdue was so frustrating because watched first half, it went to halftime, and then I kind of was busy doing something, and I was keeping up with the score and saw that we got up by 16 points. I'm like, oh, let's turn this thing back on. And then here comes Purdue. They're coming back, and I just had to shut it off after that. It was nerve-wracking to see like Purdue closing it back in, but we were able to hold them off. I don't know what it was that happened to Purdue in that game, but it seems like defensively they have spurts where they just can't get stops.
Yeah, Purdue. And offensively, it was a tale of 2 halves for Purdue. First half, they shot 3 of 14 from 2-point range. And the only reason it was close is because they're on fire from 3. I think they're like 8 of 14 or 8 of 13, which usually when you go 8 of 13 from 3, you're winning by double digits. But they were down 5 because of, 3 of 14 from 2 is like one of the worst percentages I think I've seen at any level from 2-point range. So, but then the second half it flipped. Purdue couldn't hit any threes, but it got Trey Kaufman-Renn going. But I think Ohio State was content with that because they already had a lead and 2s are less than 3s. So, Purdue's defense isn't great. If Purdue's going to make any sort of run, it's going to come just from hot offense. And
right, because Ohio State hasn't been a consistent offensive team all year long, and we shot 51% from the field against Purdue in this game. And anyone who shoots that well, you're going to have a tough time beating them unless your offense is matching them.
Yeah, and that's kind of been Purdue's bugaboo all year. Is their defense has not been up to usual Purdue standards. Yeah, Big Ten's clearly a one-team race. I think it's a one-team race right now because Michigan's already claimed it. But I'm curious to see how both Purdue and Ohio State do, because I think this game totals a lot about both teams.
Right. I want to stay on Purdue for just a second. Just looking at the latest bracketology, now they're put at the 3 line, looking at a potential 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. about month and a half ago. I mean, this was a team that was potentially vying for a 1 seed in this tournament, and it's been a bit of a fall off this past month or so. That they're only 8-7 total against quad one teams. Do you see Purdue? I'm going to ask you because you're Purdue alum, Purdue fan. How do you see this team? Are they a potential Final Four contender still? This is the bit of the fall off that we're seeing as we head into tournament time, into this crucial time of the year. Uh, a bad sign.
One thing that's interesting is how bad they've been at home against good teams. So I believe they are 0-4 against top 25 teams at home, but they are 4-0 against top 25 teams on the road or on neutral sites, which speaks well for the tournament. But it is concerning that you can't get it done at home. I mean, granted, they play Michigan, Illinois, Iowa State, like really good teams at home, but you think Purdue, you at least at absolute worst, you'd go 2-2 against that at Mackey Arena. So yeah, I mean, there's just some weird vibes going off with them. I don't know what it is. I might be a lack of leadership, like while the senior class has been around all 4 years, the Lawyer, Smith, Kaufman, Wren, put them in a leadership standpoint. It's not great. Maybe that's it. I don't know because I mean they've shown spurts now and then of just how dangerous they can be. So which I'm not ruling out a Final Four path. I think if they drew UConn, if Purdue was like a 3 seed and they drew UConn if on the 1, I think they could take UConn. I think they could take Arizona because Arizona is a known choker. I know Purdue's a known choker too, but I mean, when two chokers come together, someone has to lose. So, granted, I think Arizona's better than Purdue, but like I said, given history, but I mean, Purdue is clearly just a tier below the Michigans and the Dukes.
So maybe not a championship contender, but Final Four maybe.
Yes, they've shown that. I mean, they've shown throughout the year that they have Final Four capability. I mean, beating Texas Tech by 30. I mean,
Yeah, it just hasn't been consistent all
no,
year.
it just hasn't been consistent at all.
Well, speaking of 1 seeds, looking at the latest update here, we've got Duke, Michigan, UConn, Arizona. Those are the 1 seeds on CBS's bracketology currently. Just looking at the 2 line of Illinois, Houston, Florida, and Michigan State. Out of those teams, who do we think could potentially take a 1 seed down here, down the stretch? Because I think UConn is probably the weakest of the 4 seeds. I would say they'd be the 4th 1 seed. So to me, I think it's Florida who could take that final 1 seed. I think they've really made a return to form since the beginning of the year, where it looked like they might not even make the tournament. 10-5 against quad 1, 6-1 against quad 2. They seem to have the best resume out of these 2-line teams. Illinois, I don't know how Illinois is still at the 2 seed spot.
They've lost 4 of their last 6, and for some reason they keep moving up. I don't
right.
Like
That one I don't get.
I get teams around you lose, so like I get why you could remain stagnant. I don't know why that means you rise up though when you're losing as well.
And maybe they're getting some help from their strength of schedule, which is 6th in the nation, right behind Michigan, who's 5th. So maybe they're just getting some help with their strength of schedule. But that part I don't get. But I do think Florida right now is the strongest contender to take a 1 seed if UConn falters.
Yeah, and I don't think UConn will, even though I don't think UConn's as good as their record says they are, because, man, they have flirted with losses to several bad Big East teams this year. And Creighton finally got them a couple weeks ago. But even on Saturday, Seton Hall took them down to the wire at UConn, and that game had no business being that close. But, I mean, the Big East is so easy that I think UConn's going to win out. So I don't think they can move UConn out of that if that's where they're already at the 1 spot. But I am 100% agreement with you. Florida is is up there with the Michigan, Duke, Arizona, and most dangerous team. Michigan, Duke, Arizona are locked. There's no way they're automatic lock 1 seeds. It's going to come down to that 4th spot, and if you're going by the 4 best teams, you put Florida in there as well at the moment. But like I said, I don't know if UConn's going to lose enough to go down.
Yeah, obviously Florida, reigning national champions, I think have the best front court in college basketball right now. Michigan's right there with them, but I do think Florida's. I would take Florida, and if we were just pick one between them and UConn, who should be the fourth seed? But it's like you said, if UConn doesn't slip up, then there's no chance.
Well, those two teams, I believe, played each other earlier in the year, and UConn won, but Florida lost several games in the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
and that was just because
like I said, totally different.
Well, it's because their entire backcourt was new. It was Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee, the two transfers. So it's going to take a while to mesh. And all their losses, well, except the TCU loss was bad, but the other losses were to the UConn and Duke and that. So it's like close losses to those teams. But since then, since the guards have meshed, they're now combining with this front court that was dominant last year, went all the way to the title. Now they're just a super dangerous team. They've destroyed SEC competition. Granted, the SEC is not as good as it was last year overall, but still, I mean, it's still a Power 5 conference. And I think it's very clear who the 4 best teams are. Michigan State's interesting. If they somehow beat Michigan this week,
they're always there.
I don't think they will. I don't think they will. I mean, they're peaking at the right time, and they have a golden opportunity to beat. If they beat Michigan at Michigan on Sunday, then they have a legitimate argument for a 1 seed.
That game is going to mean more for Michigan State than Michigan's already locked up the Big Ten. I think Michigan could lose out and still be a 1 seed going into the tournament. So I could potentially see Michigan State winning that one just because it would mean more for them and their seeding.
Yeah, it's just Michigan's just such a bad matchup for almost every team, including Michigan.
Every team.
We saw that a couple weeks ago. We saw what we thought would be a good game between Illinois and Michigan. Michigan was in full control of that. So, but I mean, like I said, Michigan State, though, is peaking at the right time, which is, unlike Purdue, is what you want to see come March.
Anything else that you're seeing in the latest bracketology that you wanted to go
over? It's funny you look at the bubble. It's like the college bad. Football. No, but it looks like the college football playoff, basically. You see Ohio State, Georgia, Texas A&M, Indiana, Texas. I know they didn't make it, but they're right there. I mean, it's just kind of funny how many bubble teams are from and the SEC is still getting way too much bias. I understand. I understood it last year because they were just a dominant conference last year, but I don't know why there's like why is Auburn still right? Why is Auburn still considered a bubble team when they're 15 and 14? Like they should be nowhere near the bubble. You don't give me that crap about the streak. Oh, the hardest streak to schedule. Well, okay, but you got to win at least a couple more. Than you can't have 14. You can't be 500. I mean, come on. And they've been blown out by several of these teams too, so that they don't deserve them. The Miami Ohio discussion's fascinating. I don't understand. If they lose in the conference tournament, but they're still undefeated, to me it makes no sense of why they still wouldn't be an at-large. Because what's the point? What's the point of a regular season? I mean, seriously, why should any of those teams play a regular season? If you go undefeated and you lose one game in the conference tournament, you disqualify. And they give it to a team who has 13 losses.
Yeah. I don't care what conference you play in. If you're going undefeated, you're in. Like that's an impressive season, no matter what conference you play in.
Yes, their strength of schedule has been generous, to say the least. I mean, they've only had one quadrant 2 game, and the MAC's not very good. But I mean, 29-0 is no small feat, no matter what conference you're in. So, I hope they win out because I would love to see an undefeated regular season team. Cool. And I love to win the conference tournament too. It brings more storylines to March Madness, and I guess was Gonzaga ever undefeated going into the?
I think one of those seasons
Okay, they were undefeated going in. Yeah, I was going to say
Maybe
the
not.
rest
Maybe
of
it was Kentucky 2014, 15 was maybe the last
the
time.
last. Yeah,
Right now, Ohio State 9. They're a 9 seed.
I feel like
Potentially
that's a
on
little too.
CBS's.
That's a little. I feel like it's a little too
two,
high.
2-10
I
against
mean,
Quad One.
yeah,
Six and
that's
one
too high. I would say
against
like a
Quad Two.
low. Like I wouldn't say they're the last team in, but I would say they should be like the last 10 seed or the highest 11 seed. Like I don't.
Don't put us in a position where we have to play a 1 seed in the second round. I'll
Yeah,
take a 10. I'll take a 10 seed.
yeah, exactly. And that's a big jump from the bubble to the 9 after. I mean, maybe they're just overrating Purdue. I guess I don't know. I
Well,
don't.
it
I
it
don't.
is a good it's a good win. We're also 34th in the net, so our metrics are really
I mean,
good, even though
lately
we
they've.
haven't
I mean,
beaten good teams.
they've had close losses to good teams, so that helps. Like the Nebraska, Virginia the other day, Michigan State. So that definitely helps. But a 9 is a little too high in my opinion.
All right. We'll be definitely digging in some more next week as we preview the conference tournaments for next week as we lead into Selection Sunday.
This Sunday will be the last day of regular season basketball in college
Yeah,
basketball.
and actually,
Some conference tournaments are already starting this week, but the
the
last games in the regular season are on Sunday.
I saw the Horizon League play-in. IU Indianapolis, my alma mater,
Nice.
the Jaguars, playing right now against Cleveland State. We can't even, be an automatic bid to our own conference tournament. We're so bad. We have to do a play-in. 7-24 on the season, but if we can make a run, we're down by 9. If we can make a run, we can go to the tourney if we win the Horizon.
What's sad is if Indiana keeps losing, then the basketball state of Indiana is only going to send Purdue to March Madness, and I think that's. I can't remember if 2 years ago it happened. I know 2 years ago when Purdue made the title, they were the only Indiana school there. I can't remember if they were the only one last year too, but sad state of affairs. If, well, the basketball state of Indiana can only manage one team, and it's a team that's kind of faltering right now, anyways.
Yeah, yeah. Let's move on to the hardwood for a little segment here on the NBA as we head closer to the playoffs here. The Celtics have been a surprise team this year, haven't they? Thought to be a down year, a not really rebuilding year, but just like a getting things back together year as the guys come off injury. Obviously, Jayson Tatum with the Achilles injury has been doing a lot of workouts with the team, been getting some playing time, just off, not during games, but definitely getting back into the swing of things for the Celtics. And it just brings up the question that if Tatum were to return with the Celtics and Jaylen Brown having done what they've done this season to be in a playoff position to potentially make a little run in the playoffs this season, if Tatum comes back, will he hurt the chemistry that they've built here since he's been out?
Yeah, it helps they play in the East. I'm going to say that they're 40-20. They're currently sitting second in the East, just 5.5 games behind the Pistons for the top of the East. And Jaylen Brown's had a almost MVP caliber year, 29 points per game, but he's not the only one who's really stepped up. I mean, Derek White's averaging 17.1. Peyton Pritchard is also averaging 17 points per game. If you haven't been watching and you just follow the trade deadline, you might have forgot they got Nikola Vucevic, and he's averaging 12 and 8 rebounds a game now, which great fit. He's kind of got clowned, like people saying he's overrated. Well, he's always been on mediocre teams. Like we've never seen him on.
He's been on the
like,
Magic his whole career, basically.
Magic and Bulls, yeah, Magic and Bulls, two of the most mediocre franchises in the NBA. So like we've never seen him contribute to a star team. So like I feel like the Celtics are just a perfect fit for that. But if we're being in Boston, the expectations are titles, and I don't think a Tatumless Celtics are a title contender. Um, they do have Jaylen. They do have a Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown, and they do have a couple guys who were on that team from a couple of years ago. But they're going to need Tatum to come back, in my opinion, if they're actually going to want to win the title. Yeah, I understand the
I
chemistry
mean,
disruption argument because, uh, I mean, they've been having success without him this year, so like, why bring him back? And but I mean, if he's truly 100%, I mean, there's a minor chance he's going to be a liability out there, in my opinion. Hopefully, if he just understands his role this year, then there's no reason not to bring him.
if they can hold on to a 2 seed here, I mean, could we see Eastern Conference Finals even without Tatum?
Potentially, they would get the Knicks probably in the second round, and I would say I'd like the Knicks more than the Celtics this year, because they don't have Tatum, and last year the Knicks got the Celtics anyways, with Tatum. So yeah, there's a chance, but I think they need Tatum for the Knicks matchup. They would need, there's others who would need full strength for a playoff matchup with the Knicks. Now, if they made it, if like the Knicks just had devastating injuries and the Celtics somehow made their way to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think they could handle the Pistons without Tatum, just because I don't, unless the Pistons are some sort of Indiana or this year's version of the Indiana Pacers, where they're not taken seriously, but they're actually really built for a playoff run. Which I don't think they are. I think they're more of a regular season team this year. But then yeah, but let's say the Celtics get to the finals. Without Tatum, they have no chance against whatever team comes out of the West. They're just not. They're just not strong enough without two alphas.
All right. We said short segment for there, and it sure is. Let's move on to the rotation, and we will get to my NL East all-time rosters reveal. We've made it to the National League, and this is where I get really excited because the AL's fun. The American League, I love it. Getting to break down some of those teams and build those teams. But the National League is my bread and butter here because if anyone's listened to this show, know that I'm a diehard St. Louis Cardinals fan, and these are the teams that I grew up watching because back, growing up, the way the schedule was, you only played American League teams for a couple weeks in June, and then for the rest of the year playing your division and
Yeah,
other national league
I
teams. The way it is now, you're playing every
sometimes I
American League
do.
team once.
Sometimes I do get nostalgic about that. Thinking about how the schedule used to be, but
Yeah. And so obviously same rules apply to how we're doing these all-time teams. Obviously, looking at historical impact, legacy with the franchise, stats and accolades, postseason runs, and tenure with the franchise are all factored into the selection of these teams. And this NL East division is really great one to get started with the National League because there's a lot of passionate fan bases in this division, plenty of Hall of Famers to go around, and I would say probably the best pitching division out of all 6 divisions in the Major League Baseball. One note as we dive into these National League squads, unlike the AL, there are a handful of NL teams who started in the 19th century. So any players who spent their careers primarily before 1901 will not have been considered for these rosters. The game was vastly different from the number of games played, the style of play, the number of teams, or it was just like 5 or 6. And then the rules at the time were vastly different as well. So the AL also wasn't formed yet, so no players before 1901. That's the cutoff where the original 16 began. So let's get right into it. The Atlanta Braves. Obviously, plenty of Hall of Famers to go around here. The main eras are targeted. the championship year in '57 in Milwaukee, the '90s crew, which brought the first title to Atlanta in 1995, and then the more recent stars from that 2021 championship squad. So it's all here on display. Obviously, a great outfield with Hank Aaron, Andrew Jones, who just got Hall of Fame honors, and then Dale Murphy, who is another bit of a Hall of Fame snub, the two-time MVP winner for the Braves, and back in the '80s, he was the face of the Braves. Again, 1980 seemed to be a rough time for Hall of Famers, with Don Mattingly not being in the Hall of Fame, and a couple other guys from that era just not being respected enough. Infield, it might surprise you because up the middle, that the Braves are a little weak historically at second base and shortstop. So Ozzie Albies actually gets the second base spot here. Not a lot of competition at that position. Maybe Marcus Giles, for some of you who remember him back in the 2000s, but just really not a lot of top talent to go around. And he's got the best bat of anyone at that position. And then Rafael Furcal at short. There's some older guys like dead ball players, dead ball era players like Rabbit Moranville, and I think a guy on the '57 championship, Johnny Logan. There's just Jeff Blauser from the '90s. We do fit him on the roster on the bench, but Rafael Furcal, I would say one of the better gloves to put at short for the Atlanta Braves. Obviously, first base, you got to have Freddie Freeman. Catcher was tough. Catcher was probably the toughest position to pick, at least for a starter. And I actually just went ahead and fit all three catchers that I was trying to decide between on the roster. So we get Brian McCann at catcher. I thought probably the best defensive wise between the three, between him, Javi Lopez, and Joe Torre. Had the best glove, and at catcher you probably just want the best defensive backstop. But Joe Torre and Javi Lopez both get on there on the bench. There was a bit of a deciding factor between Ronald Acuna Jr. and Andrew Jones. Ended up going with the longer tenured, the more consistent Andrew Jones. And Acuna's been hurt for a couple seasons and kind of on and off the field. So he's obviously a top talent, so he needs to make the roster, but elected to go Andrew Jones for the center field spot. Looking at the pitching, this is the best rotation you could probably ever have. 5 Hall of Famers, 1 through 5 here on the rotation. Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz all play together in that '90s crew. Warren Spahn, and then Phil Niekro, knuckleball legend, rounds out the starting rotation. So it's just a gold Hall of Fame-esque a starting rotation for the Atlanta Braves. And I think the only rotation that does have 5 Hall of Famers that I've made for this whole series. In the bullpen, you obviously got a fireball at the closer spot with Craig Kimbrell, and then just some guys who were just very solid bullpen arms throughout championship teams and just like dominant eras. Gene Garber, Mark Wohlers, John Rocker, and then Steve Bedrosian. And then I fit in Johnny Venters here. Had to get another lefty in. He's more of like a 2010s guy who was pretty dominant as a lefty. And then the 2 starters I fit into the bullpen. Lou Burdette was part of that 1957 World Series championship team. And then Tim Hudson, saw him on the Oakland A's all-time team last week. Late career, actually spent more seasons in Atlanta than he did Oakland. Gets a spot here on the bullpen. So, Logan, what do you think of this one?
I agree with your pitching staff. I mean, I don't. That alone kind of just makes them one of the better teams overall that you've listed. I mean, the batting rotation's got big names in it, but like you said, yeah, not star-studded in every position.
There are some weak spots.
There are definitely weak spots. I mean, they're still great players, but we're talking we're putting them standards of all-time greats. So yeah, but I mean, if you can win games 1-0, then I mean, what's it?
They probably would be
1-0, 1-0, or 8-6.
Yeah, gonna get a few home runs out of Hank Aaron at least. I didn't even mention Chipper Jones, but like you get him and I was able to fit him and Eddie Matthews into the lineup, both of them at third base, but get Eddie Matthews into that DH spot. So that's a pretty dominant third base position. Uh, Probably needed to spread the love a little bit more in their franchise to maybe shortstop and second base, but that's how it turned out for them. The Miami Marlins. All right. So no Hall of Famers listed on this team. Not yet, at least. We'll see if Miguel Cabrera gets into the Hall of Fame. He should. But he'll probably get in as a Tiger. But he makes the roster here. This is actually a really fun roster because for as short a history as the Marlins have, having been around since 1993, they got two quick World Series titles in 97 and 2003. So a lot of the players who make this roster are part of those two squads. Guys like Miguel Cabrera, Derek Lee, Gary Sheffield, Jeff Conine, Mike Lowell. So a lot of those guys who contributed to World Series teams in 97 and 03 are on this roster. Juan Pierre takes center field. He's just a speedy, not a fantastic hitter, but kind of a bunt for a hit type of guy who's got a ton of speed. Had to have him on the roster. He was part of that 2003 run. But yeah, I think like not huge names, but kind of a fun roster when you throw in some more modern pieces like Giancarlo Stanton and guys like that and Hanley Ramirez who make this a pretty fun roster to look at. Dan Ugla on the bench along with Christian Yelich, who we might see again in a later division. But first part of his career he played with the Marlins, does slide into a bench spot here with the Marlins. Looking at the pitching staff, had to go with the number one starter with Jose Fernandez. So his career was obviously cut short with his sudden death, but he was one of the most dominant pitchers for a handful of seasons before he died, and rate wise, just the best starter in Marlins history. Just electric stuff, sub 3 ERA, just a flamethrower, strike thrower, and racked up a ton of strikeouts just for the short time he spent with the Marlins. Cy Young winner Sandy Alcantara makes this one, along with Josh Beckett, Dontrell Willis with the funky lefty delivery that he always had, and then Kevin Brown makes another rotation. Just an underrated guy who probably no one's ever heard about unless he played for your team. We had him on the Texas Rangers last week. Just played for a lot of different teams for short stints, but he was part of the championship team in '97. So, and he was a major part of that low ERA type guy. So he makes the starting rotation. As we go to the bullpen, just some solid guys, not huge names. Rob Nin takes the closer spot along with Antonio Alfonseca, AJ Ramos, Steve Cishek, and more recent lefty specialist Tanner Scott. And then we got we got a starter in the bullpen, Anibal Sanchez, Josh Johnson, and then we fit in Kyle Barraclaw as well. So, Logan, what do you think of this roster as it stacks up with most of the teams we've gone over? No Hall of Famers, but kind of a fun roster and get you some wins.
Definitely fun, especially the batting rotation. Like you recognize a lot of those names from when you read up on the World Series team, but even like 2010s, that era. But do you know how many winning seasons the Marlins have had since 2010?
Probably not many. I think
Two,
like two. Yeah, I was gonna say
and
two.
one of them was the shortened COVID year. So yeah, so definitely go heavy here. I agree, going heavy here from their two title winning teams because I mean, yeah, they've had names like they've had Stanton, like guys like that, but lately, but not much team success. So you got to go what's been successful.
There was one guy I was trying to fit on the roster, Cliff Floyd, corner outfielder, big bat, but ultimately went with Yelich on the bench. Floyd wouldn't have been on the starting lineup, but I think having Juan Pierre on the team probably helped boot him out. But definitely wanted to shout him out as well. Let's move on to the New York Mets. two titles in their history. Obviously, the 1969 Miracle Mets, and then the 1986 team. Again, those are going to be heavily pulled from for this team, along with the team that made it to the World Series in 2000 for that Subway Series with the Yankees, and then 2015. 2015 was another year that they made it against the Kansas City Royals. So, just looking at the lineup, some just big names. Mets have always been able to get some big names to try to help match the big names that their big brothers in the Yankees have always gotten. David Wright at third, Jose Reyes at short, Charles Beltran in center field. That was kind of the era I grew up in, watching the Mets. That was the main core of those good Mets teams in the late 2010 or late 2000s, early 2010s. Obviously, you take from Darryl Strawberry, Keith Hernandez, and Howard Johnson on that '86 team, and then pulling Edgardo Alfonso and Mike Piazza from that 2000 team. So very strong lineup. And then you throw in the polar bear, Pete Alonso at DH, and it makes brings a lot more pop to this lineup, which is kind of maybe lower on power when it's just Piazza and Alonso and Strawberry, but definitely really good hit for average type of lineup. On the bench, you get another Hall of Famer in Gary Carter as a backup catcher to Piazza, or if you wanted to move him to catcher and have Piazza be the DH, you can always do that. That's a good versatility this team has. John Olerud, only 3 seasons with the Mets, but was really productive and was on that 2000 squad. Francisco Lindor has made this roster for me very recently because he's put up some very quality seasons with the Mets these last few years, and I think is played at least or maybe more seasons in New York now than he's played with Cleveland. So he's definitely racked up some years and some tenure with the Mets. And then Brandon Nimmo. I mentioned whenever he got dealt to the Texas Rangers this offseason that was he is one of the most underrated guys uh, in all of baseball currently and maybe even historically. And I fit him onto this roster because he has just been a super consistent bat for the Mets for a long time, and I think deserved at least a bench spot for the Mets here. On the pitching side of things, we've got some top arms. Tom Seaver, obviously Hall of Famer. Jacob DeGrom, who I think will be a Hall of Famer. And then Dwight Gooden from that '86 team, headlining the starting rotation for the Mets. And then you round it out with Jerry Koosman and Sid Fernandez, a couple of guys who were on those '69 and the '86 World Series teams. On the bullpen, got a lot of lefties, a lot more lefties than any other team's bullpen has. It's just that's how it's kind of played out for their history. That most of the top bullpen arms are left-handed pitchers. So John Franco gets the closer spot along with Billy Wagner, Jesse Orosco, and Tug McGraw as the true lefty relievers. Throw in Jurice Familia and Armando Benitez, and you've got a couple strong right-handed pitching. And then the two starters in the bullpen, David Cone and Al Leiter. So what do you think of this roster? A lot of big names. Some guys who didn't start their careers in New York, but they were definitely picked up later.
Do you think in 13 years or 14 years when Juan Soto's contract is up, he'll be on this?
Possibly. If he sticks around, he just seems to not have played very many seasons for many teams to start his career out. He's been tossed around.
Surely, if he signed a contract that's 15% of a century long, then he'll need it for at least a while. Yeah, I mean, I like it. Several guys I recognize from like the 2000s kind of era. David Wright was just a long time Met that kind of unfortunately was on some mediocre teams. Like never really had too much success. Beltran, yeah, good Met as well. So, yeah, always living in the Yankees shadow, but they've still been a decent franchise overall.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it's the Clippers. It's not like they've been like
Right.
the Clippers of the to the Lakers, like it's or the Angels, or the Angels to the Dodgers.
The Angels.
Yeah. Yep. Like I said, Juan Soto in 13 years should theoretically be on this list. If he's not, then I would say that'd be a major disappointment.
Strong pitching. It was tough to root out some guys. Obviously, Matt Harvey, the Dark Knight, doesn't make this roster. He had two really dominant
Yeah,
seasons to
forgot
start
about
his
that.
career, but got hurt and was never the same. So I couldn't fit him here. Noah Syndergaard, um, just some other names that in the Mets history. They have had a lot of good pitching. In their history, Johan Santana, Tom Glavine, Pedro Martinez are like guys who were really dominant for other teams, but and then like ended their careers with the Mets, but weren't as dominant then. So I couldn't fit those guys on here. So moving on to the Philadelphia Phillies. This is a fun one. Got a lot of guys again, kind of the same era as the Mets core of Beltran, Wright, and Jose Reyes. Kind of pull from that same era with Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, and Ryan Howard. So just it was a great time to be alive in the late 2000s for Major League Baseball. So all three of those guys make this roster. Yeah. When we get to the pitching staff, it's another Braves-esque pitching staff. So, yeah. So obviously Hall of Famers Mike Schmidt, Chuck Klein in right, Richie Ashburn in center, and I fit Dick Allen in left field. He's traditionally a third base, first base type of guy, but he has a secondary left field um, eligibility here. So I fit him out in left because his bat is too good to leave off because I wanted to get Bryce Harper in. He's actually going into this year, he will be playing his, I think, 8th or 9th season with the Phillies, and it'll be more seasons than he spent with the Washington Nationals, which is crazy to think about. Where has the time gone? But he's put up some really good years, including an MVP with Philadelphia. So I had to fit him as he's become really a first baseman, kind of shifted from an outfield guy to a first base spot. And he's better at defense than Ryan Howard ever would be. If you look at Ryan Howard's WAR, he shouldn't even make this team, but his bat is so good. He's got that 06 MVP. So he gets the DH spot easily. On the bench, we do get Scott Rowland, Hall of Famer. We probably see him again on my favorite team. So
Next week.
next week, Bobby Abreu. Bobby Abreu was part of that core with Rollins and Utley and Howard. Wanted to fit him in the outfield, but with the maneuvering that I needed to do to fit Harper in, I couldn't fit him on the starting lineup. Let's go to that pitching staff. Steve Carlton, Robin Roberts, Grover Cleveland, Pete Alexander, and Cole Hamels, and Jim Bunning. So 4 Hall of Famers out of 5. Cole Hamels, I think, probably should be a Hall of Famer. He'll have some years to be able to be on the ballot to get that spot. But part of that 08 World Series championship team, along with Howard and Rollins and all those guys. So it's a really, really strong starting rotation that rivals the Atlanta Braves. Mix of a couple lefties in there as well. So looking at the bullpen, get Jonathan Papelbon again. It was a couple really good years with the Phillies after some solid years with Boston. Obviously, he was the closer on my Boston all-time team, and here he shows up again. Tug McGraw once again. Funny enough, he was on the Mets '69 World Series and the Phillies 1980 World Series team. So he ends up on both of these teams, and those 2 World Series spots are a big reason why. Jim Constantine, Ryan Madsen, and Ron Reed round out the true relievers, and then we get 3 really big names, starters that also make this pitching staff, and Curt Schilling, Cliff Lee, and the late Roy Halladay, Hall of Famer Roy Halladay. Halladay only spent 4 seasons and only really had 2 super strong seasons, but they were that good, especially with the no-hitter in the playoffs for the Phillies. So perfect game postseason. So obviously had to fit him in here. Said I would fit Cliff Lee onto another team because we couldn't get him on the Cleveland Guardians because a lot of great pitching there as well. And he might have won a Cy Young with Cleveland, but he was a little more dominant with the Phillies overall. So, Logan, what do you think of this squad?
Yeah, pitching staff and batting rotation. Just a lot of guys from that late 2000s, early 2010s Phillies era. Yeah, that pitching staff back then was insane with Hamels, Holiday, and Lee, and Papelbon. Had all those guys. Yeah, I mean, it's them and the Braves are currently fighting for the top spot right now in the NL East for all-time team, in my opinion. We shall see what the Nationals have to bring to see if they can compete with these two teams.
Last team, Washington Nationals. Got some Hall of Famers in the lineup, obviously, and definitely have to note, got some Montreal Expos. This is where they started their franchise. So if you're seeing Montreal Expos players, that's why. Tim Raines, Vladimir Guerrero, Andre Dawson, Gary Carter. Those are the Hall of Famers that make this roster. So some heavy pull from the Montreal days, but we do get Bryce Harper, Ryan Zimmerman, and Anthony Rendon, along with Trey Turner from Rendon and Turner, obviously from that 2019 squad that brought the first championship. To Washington. And then on the bench, we do have Larry Walker, who we'll probably see again. And looky there, there's Juan Soto. He made it onto the Nationals. I mean, obviously had some really good years with them. It wasn't a long tenure, but he's a generational hitter, and that's really the team he's probably spent the longest with until he finishes out this contract with the Mets. But yeah, I think a solid squad pulling from when you can pull from Montreal, it definitely makes this a much better core on this team. If you were to just pull from Washington,
Well, yeah, because they've been historically bad, except that brief 2019 run.
yeah. Looking at the pitching staff, again pulling from that 2019 squad, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, and then looky there, Pedro Martinez, Hall of Famer, obviously was on the Boston Red Sox all-time team, but he did have an historic peak here with the Montreal Expos as he did win a Cy Young. So yeah, so 1997 Cy Young with Montreal. So he definitely makes this rotation along with Dennis Martinez, no relation there, and then Steve Rogers, Captain America, definitely one of the best starters in Expos history. Great mustache too. In the bullpen, it's not as sexy here. Chad Cordero takes the closer spot, but is backed up by Jeff Reardon, Tyler Clippard, Sean Doolittle, Drew Storen. Those are the true relievers. And then we fit in 3 starters. Gio Gonzalez, who was part of that 2019 squad, and then Jordan Zimmerman as well, part of that team. And then Levon Hernandez, who actually played a little as an Expo and a little bit as a National when they made their move. So cross franchise player right there. So definitely not the strongest team, but I think got a lot of good pieces again in the lineup. I think there's some really good lineups here, but I do like the rotation with Scherzer, Strasburg, and Martinez.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Scherzer, you think Scherzer's Hall of Fame
Definitely
worthy?
one of the top 3 pitchers of this last generation, along with Kershaw and Verlander.
Yeah, so I mean, you got that, and then Strasburg was also pretty good in his time. So, yeah, I not as good as Braves and Phillies, but yeah, just like I said, the National since they've been in Washington, they've really not seen much success. So that kind of hampers their this team's greatness, pulling from some mediocre teams. But yeah, that 2019 team is sometimes it's a recent team. It's a recent champion that just kind of gets forgotten. But I remember really enjoying their run though. I looking back on it, like, yeah, that was actually one of my favorite just as a neutral fan, that was kind of one of my favorite teams to watch. So yeah, well, I guess that wraps up the NL East.
Sure does. We'll be back next week with the NL Central. What to watch for this upcoming weekend as we get to our final word. Got the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. So as we continue the Florida swing on the PGA Tour, it's definitely one to watch as we'll probably see some more top players play in that one as they get ready for the Players the week after. Logan, what do you got?
Yep. All righty. So, seeing Purdue in basketball kind of struggle here recently got me looking back on previous preseason number ones. And so Purdue right now, it was a preseason number one, obviously. Now they're trending to be a 3, at worst, a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. So definitely a little disappointment there. Kansas last year finished 21-13 overall, and they were 7 seed and lost to Arkansas in the first round. That was pretty pitiful. And then, but what was even more pitiful was they were, well, is equally pitiful, 23-11, a 4 seed, but in the tournament they should have got beat by Samford, if you recall that game. The refs called a horrible foul at the end of that game, and then they just got destroyed by Gonzaga. So, but then before that, North Carolina, preseason number 1, finished the year 20-13 and missed the NCAA tournament. So where am I getting with this? I think this should apply to college basketball. I think it'd be fun if it applied to college football too. The preseason rankings should just be exactly how the last season ended. Exactly how. I mean, just get rid of, and let's get rid of, oh, let's scout this team. Oh, they added this guy. Oh, this guy in the transfer portal. That means they're going to rise. No, like just keep it keep the rankings exactly how it finished the season, and you have to prove that you're worthy of your ranking. Like you can't just be given it at the beginning of the year and then ultimately falter, because none of those teams, UNC, Kansas, or Kansas, were coming off a title. I think Kansas, maybe that first Kansas team was, I don't remember, but Purdue certainly not. They were just a Sweet 16 team last year. But yeah, college football would be fun as well, but I think it would really be fun in college basketball. You go by how the tournament ended. So, like, imagine a couple of years ago, St. Peter's would be like ranked 8th coming into the season, and it'd just be funny. It'd just be cool seeing that and just seeing how long they could hold on to that ranking. And then, yeah, the winner, no matter who they lost, just keep them at number 1 going into the next season. And then once they lose, that's when you start shuffling teams around. And like once a team who like maybe was bad the previous year but got some guys in the portal, you can tell they're good. Like once they start blowing teams out, you're like, okay, yeah, now we can fairly rise them to where they're supposed to be. Man, it'd just be more fun, I feel like, if you just got scrap preseason rankings, just analytic, like just doesn't have much to do with last year. It's just how much they bring back or how much they add. You have anything you want to share to that? Because I think it'd be fun. No. Right? There's definitely flaws, but I think it'd still be kind of fun.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that would be the best way to go. Because like, how can you know? So, yeah, we'll see what happens as we head into March, or we're in March, but as we head closer to tournament time, we'll see what Purdue's able to do after being ranked preseason number 1. But that's the show. This has been the K&L Sports Huddle for Logan Hubert. I'm Cage Kiplinger. May your bets hit, your team not choke, and your stress levels stay manageable. And we'll huddle up again next week.